Okay, hi. This is the second video in the fall series. Again, today is October 26, 2025. I've been here at Pier Cove Paradise or Pier Cove Sanctuary or whatever this place ends up being called for almost a year and a half. Is that right? Yes, it's coming up. On November 13th will be a year and a half. Yes, that's right. So we're very close to the year and a half mark. And this is, for working and for walking, my favorite season. I mean, the early fall is something else. I mean, it's spectacular here. It's a gloriously brilliant day, and I'm excited to take you guys on yet another walk. So this is going to be the inner loop, which kind of curves gently and runs parallel to the driveway. It's a short walk. This is the first path I made. I did not intend to make any paths when I started working here. I was just going to clean up around the house and leave because you couldn't see anything. So I had no idea how beautiful this land was. I had no idea these beautiful trees were even here because no one had tended this place in 100 years plus. And it had been clear cut here 130 years ago, so it was just like gross and chaotic and wild and woolly and tick infested, and oh, how many ticks I had the first few months working here. And this last year, by the way, since all the work I did, 2 ticks on me, none in me, the whole year. And when I started working here, I had to shower like 3 times a day. I mean, it was, whew. Anyway, point being, and forgive the ramble, some of you know I can be inadvertently loquacious. Sorry. You know, I started clearing this land and making it beautiful, and then I realized, hey, you know, this is so pretty, people need to be able to walk back in here. So I started cutting in paths. And this is the first path I cut in, is this inner loop. So let us take a walk, shall we? Okay, slow pan, slow pan. So, as I'm working, you know, I cleared this area first next to the driveway. The driveway was totally, you couldn't see any of this. Like the vegetation and trees the scrub trees were hanging over the driveway. So I cleared around the house like you kind of saw in the house loop. And then I remember looking through and you could barely see this gorgeous tree. Look how it's backlit now, that gorgeous sugar maple right there with the multi-trunks right there. What a tree. And so I thought, wow, it'd be nice to kind of uncover that tree. There's a little white fir next to it, very artistic. And so that's what got me going in this direction. And then as I started clearing out next to the driveway, I started realizing, wow, this is really something, let's make a path. And so I did. I knew I wanted to stay for people who were nervous. Some people get nervous going into the woods, afraid of getting lost. I respect that. I wanted to be able to be far enough from the driveway to feel like you're walking in the woods, but close enough to the driveway that you could peer and see the driveway. So that was my reference point. Later, I added these solar lights, which work still, and they come on when it gets dark, and they stay on till midnight every night. It's the coolest thing. And when the moon is full, you can actually walk this path with just those lights. In the summer, mostly. So anyway, yeah, cut this path in this direction. Knew at some point I wanted to make a labyrinth, because I used to build labyrinths when I lived in Europe. And wanted it to be close to the house, but not too close to the house, and it needed to be a clearing that was circular and big enough for a one-person labyrinth, and this is the only spot on the land that fits that description. I had to cut 1 tree over there. This circular glen was just right here. It's the weirdest thing. But I'll talk more about that in the next video on the meditation stations. There's a neat story behind that bench too, which I think I've already told, which I might revisit in the next video as well. But it goes past this labyrinth, and then I knew at some point I needed to kind of bend to the right to start the journey parallel with the driveway. Orange dots, we're doing the orange path. So both the orange and the blue path are conjoined right now, and they'll split right up here in a minute. But the orange loop is the light way, I call it now. I need a better name, just because it has the solar lights. If any of you think of a better name, feel free, email me, rediscoveringpeace@gmail.com, and I'll rename it if I get a good enough suggestion. this detritus pile, because I cut a lot of maple in here. This was, you know, maple, sugar maple, wonderful trees, gorgeous. I mean, look at the foliage up there. I mean, just lovely trees and incredibly prolific. And so a sugar maple will just they took over this whole valley, and they were choking out the other species. So I pruned out a bunch of adolescent sugar maples, like stuff like that big and smaller, all in here, and piled it in here. And this pile has melted down quite nicely, and will continue to, over the years, someday become a glorious mound of dirt about 3 feet tall, and a little, oh, excuse me, a little undulation of dirt here. But as I mentioned, I think in previous videos, this little valley right here was cleared out over there by somebody else, just that one little section, and inspired a lot of this. The feel of the openness and the flow to this place was partially inspired by that land over there, which we'll be able to see from that promontory in the last video of the day, the Tranquility Loop, the long loop video. We'll look down upon it later. So let's see, what else are we doing? We're doing good. So you see, you got your nice carpet of leaves. So quite a few of the trees have already dropped their leaves. And last year they weren't this orange and red. So I think the color of the leaves and how fast they fall is dependent on, you know, a bunch of factors. And this year is just, you know, a unique year. So, and I blew these paths yesterday, and already the leaves have fallen. They were completely free of leaves just last night. So this is getting to be lovely. I haven't done too much here in the last 2.5 months. I've been focusing on other areas, which we'll see in later video, the last 2 videos. So this actually, I think, is exactly the same as it was 2.5 months ago. Most of the work that I've done the last 2.5 months has been on the blue loop, the long loop, the Tranquility Loop, as it's called. Still lovely with a carpet of leaves there. Here's my umbrella beach, who I love so much. I may end up getting rid of one more sassafras here to give him less water competition, so he'll get even bigger faster. The guys have come again, the same company that chipped a lot of the piles that I made. See, like on the inside of the loop, so the driveway's over there, right? Gazebo, tennis court, gazebo, the house. So inside, between this loop path and the driveway, is a space inside the inner loop. And there were tons of piles here because I had to cut so much material. Immature maples, dead pines everywhere in here. Dead pines everywhere. And so I made all these piles, most of which got chipped in May. And so 2 more piles are in the process of being chipped by this company. So that's what that machine is there for. They have to come back and finish. They're almost done. This is the last little bit of work they had to do. This was the second biggest pile I made on the property. It was very, very big. So they have about 2 to 3 more hours of work to chip that up. And then I'll get in here with a rake and smooth out the rivets and the divots that they're making with their machinery. And then the rest of the leaves will fall. And everything will be, you won't even tell this even happened by the next spring. And it'll all be open like that. This will just open right up, you know, all the way down to the end of the driveway. It really will be nice. I mean, I like the piles because critters live in them, and because if you have a 200-year vision, they melt down and turn into undulations of dirt, which make the topography really cool and flowing. But you know, you got to wait 200 years for that to happen. Who wants that? So the homeowners said, hey, get rid of the piles near the driveway. And it's fine. You know, they're all mulched in. The mulch gets spread around by the machinery and by me and feeds the trees. It's fine. It's totally fine. Here's this nice cherry tree. This is why I came this direction when I originally made this path. Was this cherry tree, who has lost all of his leaves. He's got a scar down here at its base, which does not bode well, but still a healthy tree, and I hope he hangs on for several more decades. Nice tree, nice tree. Did a lot of cutting in here, but I don't think I've done, I don't think you can see the cutting that I've done since the last video was made, because it's way back in there to open up this field. And I, of course, still have a lot of cleaning up to do here at some point. That's the tedious part. The cutting goes fast and is fun. The picking up goes slow and is tedious. But I'm going to get to it one day at a time. I'm going to do it. I really see it. I see it happening, and I think I'm going to get this place tidied up. I think it's going to happen. Feeling good about it. So flowing along here. Now I know at this point I had to head back towards some really majestic oak trees over here before I take my right turn to finish the loop. Some work has been done on this promontory up here to the left, I think. So I can show you right here has been some work done since the last video of this inner loop. I think this promontory, this section right here, has been cleared, and eventually all of that will look like this. And that, you know, to clear this whole promontory here, I think I could do it in a day. I just need to find that day. You know, there's so much to do. You know, you can only do what you can do. And I'll get to that, though. I'll get to that. And here is the intersection where the paths join again, right? So we were on the orange path, the blue loop, the big loop, the mile-long loop that covers all the property, basically goes deep in there. We're going to do that in a couple of videos. And once you do that big loop and come back, it rejoins the orange loop here at this little triangular intersection marked by this lovely moss sculpture, which I really like, next to this amazing oak tree. There's a lot of those around here. Look at that. Wow. Wow. And I think this may not have been cleaned up. Was this cleaned up 2.5 months ago at the last video? If not, enjoy. If so, okay, why not look at it twice? Yeah, this is a really nice area of land right here. Now we're headed back to the driveway. We're almost done with the walk. The tree guys came in here 2 days ago and they took out 8 trees that were dying or dead. And one of them was right there. You'll remember from the last video. It went way up there, big dead pine, big dead Scott's pine. And then there was another big dead Scott's pine right there on that stump that went way up there, way up there. Took those bad boys out. There were 3 dead southern pines over here next to the driveway, about to fall in the driveway, that went up there. Took those out and hauled them off. And then chipped this entire pile of detritus right here. There used to be a big pile of stuff right here, which provided a nice anchor in some regards, but I'm glad it's gone. A little raking right here will cover that over, that scar, really quickly. The leaves will fall on it. And you can kind of better see this little serpentine wall that I made with some of the detritus from my cutting work when I dropped a lot of dead pines over here. Those are the rounds from all the dead pines that I cut in this section of the property. And they kind of screwed up the path. They had to. Their machinery's machinery. It is what it is. So I've got to get in here with a shovel and a garden rake, and I got to do some reconstructing of the path right here. But all in all, they did their best. They took good care of the place. They did really good work. Nice fellas. And a tree the top had blown out of a, you'll remember there was a really pretty pine tree that went right up to there that I was going to leave, but a storm came and twisted the top of it, and the top 20 feet of it just ripped off and fell right here, that I cut up and put into piles. And then they took the 20-foot spur and dropped it and hauled it off, and it damaged this little pine tree that I had to cut. So this is a lot more open here than I wanted it originally. But when these 2 pines continue to grow and this maple continues to get big, I think it's going to be all right. It is what it is. You know, trees fall. And when trees fall, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, and pines fall. That's what pines do. And they explode in storms, you know, and you just have to pick up the mess and get on with it. But anyway, that is the loop. That was the inner loop. I think last year I went over to the gazebo again and walked back to the house by the gazebo. Not necessary to do because I just did that in the last video. So I guess we'll walk the driveway with the sun streaming through and then the pretty leaves falling. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that lovely? That really is something. Yeah, this is nice. I love the falling leaves. Look at that. That is so pretty. Can you guys see that? I hope you guys can see that. Wow. That is pretty. And I just love the orange carpet, you know, on each side of the road, and then the yellow up above with the green. It really is gorgeous when it gets all sparkly. Yeah. So we'll come up here. I'll show you guys my crabapple tree, which is still doing great. Deer do not like to rub their antlers on crabapples trees, if anyone's interested, and they do not eat crabapple leaves. So this tree is going to go nuts. I think this tree is going to absolutely succeed. I wrapped him in burlap just to be safe, but this tree is going to be majestic. 15 years, this tree is going to fill this entire space. It has gorgeous fuchsia, deep pink blossoms in the spring. My goodness. Anyway, let me pan around here. Okay, hi. It is I again. And that's it. That's it for video number 2. We did really well. I think it's about time for me to change the battery. Though I might try to get away with putting the meditation, because that's a short video. The meditation stations video is next. Just to show you guys more in depth and talk more in depth about the labyrinth, the Zen garden, and the tea patio, which are known now as the meditation stations, for lack of a better term, again. So I'll do that maybe now if I have enough battery power. Then I'll take a little break, put a new battery in the camera, and I'll do the long loop, because there's a lot to talk about on the long loop. Lots has been done on the blue path. Lots. It's really shaping up into something special. And hundreds of people are already using these paths, which I forgot to mention. So word got around, and then it's open to the public, and now I meet people all the time here who have heard from a friend of a friend of a friend, and who come here, a lot of them local, some of them not, and they're using the paths and sitting on these benches, and hopefully are also on their journey, each of them becoming kinder, more caring people. I mean, that's like I am, like hopefully we all are. You know, that's kind of what I'm doing with this space, is trying to make a space where everyone who enters here, regardless of your state of mind, walks away and leaves a kinder person, a more peaceful person, a person more inspired to help those in need and to take care of this beautiful planet and to take care of those who are suffering, because these are hard times, and it's time for us all to step up. You know, there are a lot of people suffering. There's some messy stuff going on, and now's our chance to reach out and become actively involved in doing good for those in need, you know. And maybe I'm thinking this space can inspire people to do that. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for allowing me that little diatribe, that little ramble, and joining me on the little walk. And that is it for video 2. So video 3 will be the meditation stations only. I'll do that now. And then we'll take the nice big long walk later, which I'm very excited about. Okay, bye-bye. Peace out. Peace out. Bye.